Welcome back to Carson Reads. Today we're talking about, I believe it's pronounced Gillian. Gillian Flynn's Gone Girl. And let me just preface this by saying that this is a top 5 book of the year for me. I will have read 40 books this year. Well, yeah, this is in the top 5, I'd say. I need to review my list. But it was really good. I'd recommend this book to anybody. If you're looking for a thriller, a little mystery, like this does it so right. Like it just does it right. And I'm not going to spoil it because I went into this book without having seen the movie. This is a screen capture of the movie. Who plays that guy? Somebody big. Ben Affleck. Anyway, I went in without having seen the movie and without knowing what the book was about. Obviously, by the title, Gone Girl, you can assume that a girl goes missing. But, gosh, what a wild, wild ride. It was published in, don't tell me, I want to say 2014. 2014. Well, it was copyrighted by Gillian Flynn in 2012. And it is 415 pages long. It's a bit long, but honestly, like you get lost in the story and it's so good. I love it. I loved this book. Just a little taste test on page 37. He's okay, so let me lay the foundation of this what this book is. There's this husband and wife duo. Wife's name is Amy, his name is Nick, okay? They live in New York, but due to some reasons, due to some circumstances, like Nick's mom getting sick and like some financial issues, they moved to Mississippi, which is Nick's hometown. And their marriage, Nick and Amy, is a little bit rocky to say the least. Once they move back, Amy does not like Mississippi and she does not like being there. And anyway, Amy is the one that goes missing. At the beginning of the book, it is basically the police showing up at their last name is Dunn, I think it's Dunn, Dunne, and their house and doing like the detective work and seeing what's up. The first line of this book is a little strange. It says, "When I think of my wife, I always think of her head. The shape of it to begin with." Sorry, that was the first 2 sentences. The very first time I saw her was the back of the head I saw, and there was something lovely about it, the angles of it. So it's just very, very strange. Very, like, something that I would never think of. And maybe I'm kind of gullible, and, like, when there's a plot twist, I can never guess what's going to happen. Anyway, so the police are doing an investigation on this Dunn household. And they're trying to gather clues. They're asking Nick questions and stuff. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. Let me guess, you made reservations at Houston's. And he goes, of course, Houston's. And then it says, it was my 5th lie to the police. I was just starting. That's how that chapter ends. And the way that the chapters are laid out is it goes from Nick's perspective to Amy's, Nick's to Amy's, Nick's to Amy's, Nick's to Amy's. And for me, that is either a hit or a miss. I've seen it done where it's like, just stick with one. But this one I feel like does a very good job. And Amy's is her journal. Oh, so good, so good. And so it just captures you. And if you've seen the movie, the book is better. So read the book. There were 2 things that kind of bothered me about this book. Just 2 little things. One of them's a plot point, and it's at the candlelight vigil for Amy because she's been missing for however many days. They assume that she's died. And literally At the vigil, I know I marked one of these is at the vigil. This girl, after a moment of silence, she's like, I just don't think that this would happen. She makes a whole scene, this friend of Amy's, and she says, blah, 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 blah. This man, Nick Dunn, needs to answer some questions. He needs to tell us what he did to his wife. I'm like, you would not ruin a moment of silence, candlelit vigil to say that, would you? Like, that's just disrespectful to Amy. If you really believe that she's dead, would you interrupt her? I don't know. Didn't like that part, but it is essential to the plot, so I guess there it is. The other thing that I didn't like, and this is more of like a recurring thing throughout the book, is they often, I say they, but Gillian often writes in, oh, no, it's they. Nick and Amy, and even the police and stuff, often just reference cliches that they reenact. For example, gosh, this is like some bad noir movie. I'm like, okay. They just like play into that cliches. Women like this always have thick strands of pearls, so click and clack. I could smell her through a female scent. I'm like, okay. I know this sounds the stuff of moony teenage girls, and then yada, yada, yada. Another thing. Like, there are so many times. I just always noticed when they would do it, where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm in an episode of Cops. Oh, this is like what happens in... I'm like, but can't it just be its own story? Like, do we have to make nods to every cliche that we're like playing into? I understand now why so many horror movies use that device. The mysterious knock on the door. Because somebody had mysteriously knocked on their door. I'm like, do we have to say that every time something happens? So that's my one thing, and then the one part was the candlelit vigil being interrupted. I'm just gonna end this with a quote from Nick toward the end. It says, "I think you know in life what's a good thing to do and what's a bad thing, and I did a bad thing, and there you have it." What's gonna happen? If you read this book, let me know your thoughts. I'm genuinely curious. I'm sure. I think I've said this before. I don't use Goodreads. I think Goodreads is the ugliest, hardest to maneuver app in the world. Just kidding. That's such an over-exaggeration and so dramatic. But yeah, I think if there was, this is just a little tangent of mine. If anybody out there wants to partner with me to make a Goodreads that's like Letterboxd. Letterboxd is perfect. Letterboxd is so clean. It works so well. Like, it's just beautiful. Whereas Goodreads, like, no wonder people like movies more than books, because look at what we were given to work with here. So someone come and make that app with me. I don't know how, but I'm sure we could figure it out. Anyway, that was Gone Girl. And the ending, you guys, I was literally speechless. Look at this woman. What goes on in her mind? Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know what I should read. I loved this book, would highly recommend. And that's all I have to say. Ciao for now, and I'll be back soon.